Say something, please.
Say something, please. Mic check.
Hello, welcome to the program Big Talk on Global TV. We are watched on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes 276. My name is Thompson Gimba. With me,
my name is Ubom Osoro, and I'm super excited to be on the show this evening.
Yeah, that's great. Indeed, we are going to be looking at the life and times of late President Muhammadu Buhari, who passed away yesterday in a London hospital. And indeed, from the stories we are receiving, he has been flown into the country, and burial will be taking place tomorrow. It is important for us to know indeed who that man was. I remember he was a military officer, later became head of state in 1984, and then left office and became the president on the 2015 to 2019 as civil president. As a matter of fact, most people are really talking much about him, and Nigerians are really mourning about the man, because we all know what he did when he was in government. And by tomorrow, all roads lead to Daura, where he will be buried. And so we are going to be joined via Zoom by two most important persons. One is from Cross River, in the person of Dr. Mike Odan, and who's a political commentator, and alongside Dr. Mohammed Kelani, also joining us here in Abuja to tell us more how much they know about late Muhammadu Buhari. It's a pleasure having you on the program, Ubo.
Thank you so much. Wonderful, because Buhari is one person that has, has actually touched Nigeria.
Yeah.
He was military head of state, 83, 84, and all of that. Came back, and we've just had two individuals since the creation of Nigeria in 1960 and 1963. It became a republic that have actually been able to repeat that feast. Yeah. A lot of people have tried. Remember, Abacha tried to transition into a civilian president and all of that. It couldn't work out. But apart from Olusegun Obasanjo, who came back from the military era to become president in 1999, the next person we saw was President Muhammadu Buhari, or late former President Muhammadu Buhari, who in 2015, having been convinced by parties and coalition, came back, ran, and actually became the president of Nigeria. And for 2 terms, for 8 years, he held sway as the president of the country.
Yeah, and most people really don't know much about the man, especially those who were born before he could become the president, the military head of state, like the way you said it. Those who came after he had become the military head of state in 1984. Actually, the coup took place in December 31st, 1983. Then he came into office the 1st January 1984. After a very short while, again a pilot coup took place, and then he was removed by Babangida. So these are the things we need to know, basically. Who was that man that had that opportunity to become military head of state, and eventually after a long while he came back again as civilian, elected as president of this country, and yesterday we are mourning him. The country is actually mourning him, and he died. Remember the time he came into office in 2015, within a very short time really, he began to go to United Kingdom for medical treatment, although till today nobody knows precisely the disease or the ailment that killed him, but we know he used to go there for medical treatment until when he now left office in 2019, stayed for like 2 years, and yesterday he gave up the ghost.
Yeah, I think God actually assisted him to fulfill his dreams, because being a president was his lifelong dream. You could see it pursuing being a president 3 times. Yeah. Remember in 2011, he was there contested. He came back in 2015, and he was there in 2007. Yeah. He always contested, and give it to him. He had this block votes, 8 million to 12 million votes that he will always bring to the party from the days of the PP to the CPC to the APC. So Muhammadu Buhari is one Nigeria that you cannot actually push away, because he had loyal supporters who supported him, who were ready to spend for him, who were ready to talk about him and actually follow him. I think in the north, apart from Buhari, it's difficult to see that kind of politician. We had those in the likes of Shehu Musa Yar'Adua and the former Premier Ahmadu Bello. It's difficult to see a politician in the north today that galvanizes the masses support the way Buhari did.
Yeah, sure. Because of he lived a pious life. He never believed in gathering wealth for himself, and because of that philosophy he had as a person, not just as a leader, he attracted a lot of this court followership around himself. You can imagine most of the time that he went out for campaign to become what he became. You can see the number of people that will gather at the point when he will be there to address them, and that indicates to what extent he was loved by his people. But of course, being a leader in a complex society like Nigeria, no matter how saintly you might be, the tendency here is you are likely not going to get it all. But to my own understanding as a person, my opinion, he tried to a very large extent, looking at some of those things he tried to do. I remember when he was the military head of state, one of the things he did was to introduce, what is it called? War against indiscipline, together with the late Idi Agon. So they put Nigeria almost in right footing. Till today, most Nigerians are still making reference to that particular philosophy or policy. But and even when he tried to combat that, when he came back, when he was elected as the president in 2015, the mantra he came up with was to fight corruption. The question here is, was he able to succeed in fighting corruption? Was it like as a person he succeeded, or is it for the fact that those he used as lieutenants who were like his ministers, they didn't do well? Is a question there to be answered. And I think those of us who are going to be part of this program during via Zoom, they will further explain better for us to understand. Yes.
Absolutely. I think there are lots of questions that needs to be answered. Lots of questions needs to be answered because talking about the economy, talking about corruption, we have Emefiele who served as CBN governor under late former president Muhammadu Buhari, came out with such scandal, and we had Pocket, Nigerian Airways. There were a lot of things that could be talked about concerning corruption, economy. Those are questions that
okay, let's just see whether or not okay, I can see whether is this Dr. Mike Udan right now calling, joining us on Zoom from Cross River. Good evening, sir. Good evening.
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure joining us on this program this evening, Big Talk on Global TV. Sir, to what extent can you say you knew Buhari as a leader?
I was very young when the president became president, and it is, I recall with nostalgia how I trekked to Federal Science College Ogoja when he came to commission the Ogoja rice mill in 1983. I was just 10 years old at that time, and you can imagine that the impact he created at that time when he was the military head of state. But on the scale of 1 to 10 in his performance in government, I would say that he was overhyped before entering power. Probably at the first time he wanted to come into power, if not all the delays, he would have done well. But on the scale of 1 to 10, I will give him 4/10 in terms of leadership. We all have seen him as being anti-corrupt when he was outside. It's one thing to be personally not corrupt. It's another thing to supervise people around you being corrupt and you do nothing. If we go by biblical injunction, Romans chapter 1 verse 31 and 32 makes him guilty. But you may not be committing the sin, but you tend to turn a blind eye to give approval, consciously or unconsciously, to those who committed sin. He wrote on the mantra of corruption, anti-corruption, to come into power. We all expected him to get all those who are thieves arrested, sanitize the system, and put Nigeria back on the trajectory of growth. But unfortunately, he supervised one of the worst corruption regime in Nigeria. I feel very sad because I think a lot of people had high expectation of his personality. To be very honest and fair with him, I think health dealt with him, and that is why it was made most likely.
Maybe can hear us, Dr. Majaruda.
It was.
I just wanted to find out from you basically, to what extent can you say, when he was the military head of state, trigger Nigerians to love him to come back again as a civilian? That at the end of the day, he didn't do like the way he did when he was the military head of state.
The same president that supervised the building of the refineries is the same president that came and could not renovate the refineries. 8 years. The same president who used less than 4 years to build refinery when he was just a minister of petroleum. But now he became president and spent 8 years and could not fix the refinery. You know, sometimes people will be, when a person dies, a lot of people will begin to sing praises. We hardly have a clinical overview of that personality. But I want to be very honest. I know that everybody has their belief and
usually people don't speak ills against the dead. That's the way it is in life. Though you could be a witch or a wizard, and when you die, people still praise you because you have gone. But of course, for a leader like in the case of President Buhari, it's obvious that we're supposed to accept basically what he did when he was there as a military head of state and what he did when he was elected as civilian president until he ruled for 8 years and left. Whether or not he left a very good landmark for Nigeria to continue where he stopped.
Yes, I understand. I am not contesting with you in the studio. I am giving you my perspective. Because as a young man, we all believe that the very day Buhari becomes president, all the thieves and the corrupt people will disappear. Then we started seeing EFCC even being corrupt to the point of stealing from looted funds. The recovered funds, EFCC even looted recovered funds under his nose. So I think he was overhyped. But by and large, he is still loved by people who believe in him. You know, a lot of times people talk political when it is politics, whatsoever you do, so long as you are from where you are from that part of the country, you are loved. No. We are people that want to tell ourselves the truth. For example, let's just take one small example, very interesting example. The president spent 8 years and did not fix the health facility in the villa. And he had to go to London for treatment. And meanwhile, the best doctors in the whole of Africa are from Nigeria. These are things that are real. They are real. In terms of good road and infrastructure, I give it to him. The Makurdi Abuja road, excellent. A part of the Cross River road going to Calabar, excellent. I know of several roads that he did. The Port Harcourt Enugu Express, excellent. But health, he didn't do well. At least he had been sick, so he would have concentrated more money in health. But he didn't do that. Then we say we should be fair with the dead. Well, I have to tell people rest in peace because I don't know how they prepared. I will only wish it because we are on TV. May his soul rest in peace. I wish that God will consider him.
All right, so okay, I'd like to take you on infrastructure, education, where you are a major. Let's talk about education. During President Buhari's tenure, we had strikes that lasted for more than 1 year, 6 months cumulatively. This president has done 2 years already, and we've not had any strike. So, what does it speak to you that a president that came into office and spent 8 years, and we had strike that lasted for more than 1 year, 6 months cumulatively in his 8 years in office, does it show a president that honors and understands the importance of education?
Issues lingering before his coming. There were issues that were lingering before his coming. And we had expected him with the implementation of the IPPIS that he was going to pay a very, very straightforward approach to education. Even in education, infrastructurally, he did well. At least I know of universities that were established. The University of Transport in Daura was established. The Federal University of Technology, Kodabasi, was established. I think about 2 more federal universities I know of that were established by the president. Unfortunately, the one we agitated for Federal University of Technology, he didn't assent to that bill. So he did well in education apart from the strike. But the point I'm making is that he did not deal decisively with corruption. And then another area is that he came into power when Goodluck Jonathan had difficulty dealing with the insurgent. We expected him with a military background. In fact, if you listen to the campaign manager, the campaign speech of the present president now, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, his campaign speech in Lagos was that when America had a problem, they looked forward to Eshinova and brought Eshinova to come and help them. Nigeria has a problem. Nigeria is looking forward to bringing the Buhari to come and help them. And that Buhari with military, Boko Haram will be a thing of the past. He came. We had killings in Plateau, we had killings in the Northeast. It was a very terrible thing. So we were wondering, where is the military nature in him? I think we must admit that the president was, his health contributed to what it is. For me, he was a shadow of himself. The Buhari that I grew up to hear of, the Buhari of Y Brigade, we expected him to do more than what we saw, or more than what I saw.
Odan from Cross Rivers, you were like trying to swallow that God's given privilege of saying rest in peace, you as a person, which we often do when somebody is announced or declared dead. And I was really expecting you, but you were like swallowing your words, but saying you find it very difficult whether or not to say rest in peace or not. Basically, yes, what are your challenges when then he was in government? Are you looking at the fair aspect of insecurity when then was a government, considering himself as military, a retired general who we thought by the time he would be like the way he did, we are likely going to see a remarkable change in the entire structure of defeating those non-state actors in Nigeria. But until he left after 8 years, rather it got worse. That's my opinion.
Yes, that's exactly. That's what I've just said now. The expectation of Buhari was high. We expected him to deal decisively with the insurgent, deal decisively with, in fact, Benue State was boiling under the president, and there was nothing. So, for me, I think we need to tell ourselves the truth. One of the challenges Nigeria has as a country is that we play to the gallery. We don't tell ourselves the truth. The expectation on him as a person was very high, and when he came, he fell below. During the campaign for second tenure, we all blamed, as at that time the blame was that the economy he met was bad. We say, okay, let's give you another time again. He was given another chance. We expected him to finish up and do well, but we have to be honest. I know areas that he has done well, the IPPIS, he did well by implementing it well. I expected him to have implemented the Steve Orosonya report, which he did not. The man, the military man in him, I expected. I did not see in that government.
Okay, Mike. Before we let you go, we still have a guest who's going to join us via Zoom. That's Dr. Mohammed Kilani. But before we let you go, Mike, look at late President Buhari as a person, and then try to assess him, and then assess the people he engaged as his ministers, whether or not they were able to do very well, or probably he had in mind that he was going to do well, but because as much as he wasn't superhuman for him to check nearly everything that was happening in the country, probably they failed him. Will you say in your own opinion that he as a person didn't do well by checking them, or probably he checked them but they couldn't listen to him at the way they should?
Well, let's say this. The buck stops there. It was the same President Muhammadu Buhari in his campaign who stated clearly that the fish rot from the head. And so I followed based on what he said. He is the head. The buck stops on his table. And so he was supposed to, anybody who did not fall into line was supposed to have been dealt with. However, he's a human, we all make mistakes. He has done his part. He came into power, he used his constitutionally approved 8 years, he has done his bidding and left the others. When I drive through Makurdi to Abuja, I remember the president. When I drive from Enugu going to Port Harcourt, I remember the president. When I drive in some part of Cross River State going to Calabar, I remember the president. He did well in those areas. In fact, the bridge linking Nigeria to Cameroon, he did it. The bridge linking within Cross River State in River, he did it. Then the second Niger bridge, he did it. I expected him to decongest the port and make the port in Port Harcourt working very well so that the Lagos will not be crowded. He is a military man who came into power as a civilian and needed to act like a military man. But unfortunately, he didn't meet up. To be fair, I'll be fair with him. I think he had done his own bidding, but the way we had thought he would come to do, he did not do that.
Dr. Mike,
there are people that come into power, we don't have much expectation of them.
Dr. Mike, let's talk about healthcare. Let's talk about healthcare. Former late President Buhari died in London, and this is a president that spent more than 4 months of his total 8 years abroad seeking medical care. And what does this speak to Nigerians? What does this speak to the kind of leadership? Just yesterday, I saw a report, General Abdusalami Abubakar, saying he was in the same hospital in London as former late President Muhammadu Buhari. And we keep seeing this. Our current president travels to France, you know, for whatever reasons. Media has it that is for Medicare and all of that. Will we keep having our elected officials, will we keep having our politicians build world-class hospitals as they claim in Nigeria, but at the slightest, you know, sickness or headache or whatever, they jet off out of the country to go get Medicare? When will we have leaders? My question now in summary, when are we going to have leaders in Nigeria that will believe in our healthcare system?
Well, we are talking about him, so let's talk about him. I expected him to have spent money on healthcare. You know, a man that is sick need to know that instead of going far, it takes 6 hours, 6 hours 27 minutes from Abuja to Heathrow Airport in the UK. So you can imagine sitting in the plane for 6 hours to go for medical treatment when you would have just moved 35 to 45 minutes from Daura to Abuja. We have a national hospital. If it's properly equipped. See, we are not just honest, and we don't love ourselves. Our leaders don't love us, and we don't love them. If the day that this country will be well is when our leaders' children will attend public schools. They will attend public hospitals. That day it should be well. You know, unfortunately, this is very sad. How can you run to a country where human beings like you build the hospital? And most often it's even our Nigerian doctors that are working there. We have the manpower, we don't have the infrastructure. 8 years is enough to have built one of the best hospitals in the world. At least with the whole crude oil we have, we can use it to build the best hospital so that none of our leaders will go out of the country.
Because we are going to take another discussant, Dr. Mohammed Kelani, who will join us very soon via Zoom, because we need to really talk more on that by the time we joined Zilani, wherever he might be. But I believe he should be in Abuja now, and I believe he's watching Global TV 365 while this program goes on at the way it is. So we shall take a short break, and then we'll still get back to you, Dr. Mike Odan, for further discussion on this wonderful discussion we're holding today on Global TV. Don't go away. Welcome back. It's Big Talk on Global TV. My name is Todd Sigimba.
And my name is Ubon Osoro.
Yes, we have had a guest via Zoom. That's Dr. Mike Odan, who joined us from Cross River. You watched him explaining basically, looking into critically late President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, when then he was a military head of state, and as well an elected democratic president. But of course, as a Nigerian, you have your right to assess the way you have really been monitoring the way things are really going on in the country. That reminds me, even the FCT, you asked him about the questions concerning leaders jetting out of this country to seek medical care outside this country, leaving the country, or when they die, they bring their corpses back home. But while they are alive, they go to foreign countries to seek for medical care. It's the same thing we've been seeing in the FCT, where bus terminals are built all over the place, but there are no buses to carry passengers. Yes, they have been commissioned or either inaugurated.
Yeah, it's actually very sad. I remember when Buhari was 6 years in office, I did a report, and I was trying to track the campaign promises of Buhari one after the other, and how much they've done as far as implementation, and generally a lot of Nigerians felt dissatisfied, because he came into governance with so much clout. I think he's the only president that came in on a platform that people expected genuine change, because Nigerians banked on the back of change is going to happen. Corruption will be gone. Insecurity will be gone. We banked on a lot of things, so a lot of expectations, maybe rightly so or maybe wrongly not so, were placed on his shoulders, and he came into governance, and it looks as if he had failed, because for somebody that had health concerns, and for 8 years you had health concerns, and for 8 years you were in a position that would have built the best hospital, you'd have done the appropriation, send it to, after all, they said it at the time, said whatever Baba sends, they will sign. So you had all of this, arsenals at your disposals, and you didn't use it. Yeah. So that's, we'll leave it for history, like people say in our history classes, they say leave it for history to judge.
To judge. Yeah, that reminds me really. If you look at the time he came into government, elected president, the late Buhari, he began to feel a little bit uncomfortable with his health, and he saw the need to really fly out to seek for medical care. Till today, officially, there hasn't been official statement what kind of disease he suffered from until he died. But we used to see him going to hospital in UK. at the first time ever, when he left for this country, his wife, who ought to have been with him in Austria, was not allowed to go there. Very many people who were with him in government never allowed to visit him until when he began to recuperate. That was the time they started going. I remember watching a still picture when late she was starved in his regime then. I've forgotten his name. You know, paid a visit, and they showed us a picture when showing Buhari learning how to walk. And I was like, imagining whether you know, he was becoming a child again, you know, learning how to walk. And like you rightly said, there wasn't any reason to give. Abba Kyari. There wasn't any reason to give. Stay for 8 years in government. 365 days in a year for 8 years. I never thought of even putting a block so that even if you're unable to fill the structure, somebody can continue from there. And then equip it with sufficient enough to handle any other challenge we have in this country.
I think that's the hypocrisy of leadership in Nigeria, or because of recent, former US president, you know, got diagnosed of cancer. And the very day, you know, stage 4 cancer, it was put it in the press.
Yeah.
They govern with accountability. People want to know what is wrong with our president. You are in a public office. You are open to public views. You are open to public valuations. You are open to evaluation and a lot of things. But in Nigeria, somebody in government gets sick leave and does not come to office for 7 years. Nobody knows what is wrong with the person. We cannot continue that. So when we look at all of these things, that is why some Nigerians now question, you know, the life and times of President Buhari. But I think there's also good sides.
And why would he even wept? You remember at a point when he was one of the contests to become the president, like the way he finally became, and then he took the matter into tribunal until he got to Supreme Court and it was ruled out that he didn't win the election. He wept, and I was like thinking that he had a focus, the direction where he was going, if he was given the opportunity to lead like the way he got it at the end of the day. And possibly, that's my opinion, misuse. If he wept, why would he become like the way he became and did not do anything meaningful for Nigerians to believe in him? Like the way you rightly painted out, he had enough followership and there was enough confidence in him that he was going to, you know, turn this country around. And until when he became and left, there wasn't anything. Till today, some of the things he did are still being managed to get them back to the proper footing by this administration. In terms of the economy, you remember Obasanjo criticizing, you know, that his administration was not doing well in the areas of the economy, and truly it was like that. At the point we now saw ourselves struggling to buy rice, people were feeding maybe once in a day to survive, you know, that kind of a thing. Amidst crisis, insecurity all over the place, you hardly can travel a kilometer without anybody crossing on the road, either to take off your life or whatever. That was the situation we had in that particular time.
These assertions are actually very subjective, because there are people that believe that President Muhammadu Buhari did well. I mean, like I wanted to contrast. Maybe he failed in some aspects, but look at social intervention programs. There have not been any president in Nigeria, I give it to Buhari, that has invested so much.
Who got what?
In social intervention programs. Programs like trader money.
How many? Do you know anybody in the neighborhood that received the money?
Truly, I know people that got N-Power without knowing anybody. I know people that registered for N-Power and got various into that scheme. So, in fact, somebody was telling me the other day that Buhari was so touched anytime somebody, a concern is raised about the Nigerian. He was so touched. You remember the school feeding program? So the school feeding program
was like a hoax.
No, yes,
it was like a hoax.
It would have been mismanaged, yes, but you can't devalue the intention. Intention was to get things to the poorest of the poor, get things to these children that cannot.
And that was what Mike said. Mike said if he was the president and everything stopped on his level, if he knew that some things were not working well, being the president is supposed to have really tried as much as possible to check to ensure that things were done properly. Like, I'll give you an instance. Like the minister of the FCT, why he succeeds in doing projects or carrying out projects and commissioning them in large number like the way you have been doing over time, is because he does not just believe in his directors. What he does, anytime he gives out a project, he follows it to the logical conclusion to ensure that what he asks to be done is done. And then at the end of the day, he now goes out to commission. That's the way it's supposed to be. And so if you are a president of a country like the way Nigeria is, you cannot be sitting down in your cool environment and then believing that maybe something is happening in Lagos, you believe that somebody that signed has gone to do that. It doesn't work that way. And so maybe that brought about the failure. And if you did that for the first time, you should have remembered that coming to the second time, you wouldn't allow it to happen like the way it happened previously, and then you add more energy to it. But did you see anything till you left office? To be honest.
You know, that's why I'm still saying that it's subjective, because with facts and figures.
Yeah.
But totally, I think Buhari actually lost goodwill. Because he had the goodwill to strike a balance. He had the goodwill to put the country on a better footing. Not, people will say right footing, could be relative, but on a better footing, you know, and I think he lost that privilege wholly. But of course, there will still be people that will point out, like I pointed out, social intervention scheme. He did the most, widen the nets to make sure these tokens get to most Nigerians. But people will also say economics, simple economics, if you keep giving people, you know, you are actually destroying the buying power, because when you pump in more money, inflation happens in the markets, we have more money, and more money chases little goods, and the prices rises, so it becomes a circle. So these are towards the twilight of his administration, before he left in 2023, you were here when Naira redesigned. It was so touchy. People suffered as if you were in a desert trying to survive in this country. People died as a result of that. The question here is, why was the intention of this Naira design until that policy came into being and eventually fizzled out without any significant impact of why it was introduced in the first place? So one will imagine, you know, that's my opinion, whether it was intended just to suffer Nigeria at the end of the day. Because I didn't see anything beneficial as a result of that particular policy. This redesigned. You know, like you mentioned, the buck stops at the table of the president, so you take the blame. But looking at the Naira redesign happened in his
towards the end of his administration.
Was a policy that was pushed by the former CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, even without the knowledge of the finance minister at the time. You know, that succeeded in convincing President
would the governor CBN, would he have ever thought of doing what he did without the knowledge of the president?
He succeeded in convincing the president, and the president bought into the idea. Even some, a lot of Nigerians bought into that idea that, okay, with the Naira redesign, we are going to solve the problem of money in politics. We are going to, whatever they would have told him to convince him. But you take the blame at the end of the day.
So what was it in the first place? After said and done.
As the leader, you take the blame.
After said and done. It's the same thing. The service chiefs were left when he appointed the service chiefs. He allowed them to be in government and stay closely to about 6 to 7 years. We were thinking that as long as they were there, we are going to see a remarkable change in time to tackle insecurity in this country. Because the longer you stay, the better the results. But until they left, was there anything significant at the end of the day? Nothing. No. Nigerians were eaten raw by terror. That was what was happening there.
But you also understand that at some point he began to make improvements. Yes, he had failure leadership, because I remember at the time IGP of police was ordered to go to Borno State. He didn't go and all of that, and the president said, I'm not aware, and all of that. So he had his mortal failure as a human being. Maybe he wasn't a good supervisor, as Dr. Mike mentioned, but today we are contextualizing his life.
Yeah.
We can't really say, even in literature, that somebody was totally a villain. It doesn't happen. So a villain could be relative. He could have done some more things bad.
But some of those things are practically themselves. You understand? They were practical. There wasn't any other president as at that time we were discussing except Muhammadu Buhari, late Muhammadu Buhari. And government brings about change when another person gets into it like the way he did. And if he was there for 8 years, at the end of the day, was he struggling to survive as a country? And then you ask yourself, what is so important in changing governance, in changing government, so to speak? Another comes here, another goes, and the matter still remains the same. So it would be what I say, can I say it is much better that way?
You know, for me,
but because fundamentally, that weeping till today pains me. I was really thinking I want to see something different by the time he whooped like the way he did.
And I think most Nigerians also expected, but mortal failure came into place. Maybe obviously Nigeria is too big a country for one person to govern. People have thought that maybe we need regional government. Maybe we will never have one president that will be able to govern Nigeria well because of the contraction of the country. Different ethnicity and all of that.
Okay. Well, it is important, of course, we have had Mike Odan, who called us, or joined us rather, via Zoom from Cross River. We've been expecting Dr. Mohammed Kelani. He's in Abuja here. We do believe that he's very much ready to share his thought with us on this great discussion we're holding today on Global TV. It's a pleasure having you, Dr. Mohammed Kelani.
Good evening, Nigerians. I'm Professor Dr. Kelani Muhammad. I've heard what you people discussed or you are discussing. Most of the discussions is just about semantics. The content and what is happening or what happened or what will be happening in Nigeria is that we need good leadership. In fact, I'm very close to the late president. In 2022, because of his antecedents, when he was the president, military president, when he was one-time governor of Borno State, and when he was the commissioner of petroleum in Nigeria, he did his best. I think there was a time I was in Lagos, he introduced the war against indiscipline in this country. If you want to ease yourself, that time that we were in Lagos in the 70s, you look back, because there are laws that once you break those laws, you will be punished. At the bus stops, we queue to enter buses from maybe Oshodi to Lagos. And things started taking shape. But I was flabbergasted, I was dumbfounded, I was tweeting that we fought vigorously for good 16 years for President Muhammadu Buhari to become president because of his honesty, because he has zero tolerance for corruption, and he wants Nigeria to be a great country. He was talking about how to revamp our economy. But suddenly something changed. When he came to power, he called us about 100 and something of us to come to break, fast to team at the villa. We went there, we saw ourselves, technocrats, engineers, professors, professionals. We were happy because that time Buhari can tell you, from Abuja, go to Kaduna on foot. People will do it. He doesn't give people money. They wanted to come civil administrators who want actually to make sure that Nigeria becomes a great country. We were all sidelined, abandoned. After a good 16 years, I went to prison several times. Many of our followers went. Many people were maimed and killed for 16 years before he got power in 2015. So I saw President Muhammadu Buhari 5 times. I went to the villa, I sat with him. The last time I went to him, that was 2 months before his exit. I said, my president, sir, you are going. Things are not really good in this country. All the promises we made about change, it didn't happen. I didn't blame Buhari. I know that those cabals, and that's what we have to do away with in Nigeria. Even presently in our government, we have those people that are dictating. that are not making things to work the way it is. Presently, I'm the DG Confederation of all APC support groups that even brought our current president. We thought the president also will bring in those that were saying change, those that brought the government, technocrats, engineers, professors, that will turn around Nigeria for better tomorrow. It didn't happen. So for Buhari, before we were pained, we been hurt. I didn't want to forgive him before, but I saw a video trending, and this video, the president thought that we should forgive him, we should pardon him, that he's a human being. He has been forgiven. But what we want to say is that all these things that happened when he was poisoned, when he went to London, people, that's good 6 months, they were planning badly for this country. Favoritism, nepotism, bureaucracy, theft. They were looting system before he even came back. So somebody who was sick, they couldn't allow him to perform. We know them, they know us. And now the president has left us. We are mourning. Those people sending attributes today or sending a convenience. I think they are the same leaders who did not allow President Muhammadu Buhari to perform. Look at the issue of oil theft in this country. When crude is produced, more than half of that crude is stolen. They know this. We know these people, governors. What do you call them? The seasons administrators. We know the generals, but they are above the law. Any president that comes to rule this country today, he must have to dance to their tune. Otherwise, they overthrow him. So all we are saying, we are all Nigerians, whether you're a TV man or a Nupe man or a Hausa man, Nigeria belongs to all of us. We don't have any other country apart from this country. So we must come together to form a formidable force to make sure that the right thing is done in this country. I just came back from Qatar. Qatar today, the anchor man, maybe one day I will sponsor you go to Qatar and see what is happening there. The system is working. The infrastructure is there on ground. Very honest and kind people. And look at their daily lives. Everything that you want to buy there is cheap. From food to medical care to what you want to wear. We have the money in this country. When I came back yesterday, I saw Nigeria like a village. Like a village. Everything is working there. And our leaders fly every day. They go to Dubai, they go to Qatar, they go to America, they go to England, but they come back here, they will just loot and continue to loot our money. So all I'm saying about President Muhammadu Buhari, we are forgiving him. Before we didn't want to do that, because that he ruled for 8 years. That was not what we anticipated, but it has come now and gone. I'm also calling on our followers to please forgive him. He said we should pardon him. We hope our leaders will learn a lesson, because this life is transient.
All right, Professor.
Permanent.
Okay, Professor. Thank you so much for your very insightful, commentary.
Yes.
And for somebody who actually spent time with former President Muhammadu Buhari, you knew him closely, and a lot of Nigerians followed the former president because of you. And at the time, you were part of those that presented the APC as a credible alternative, and you are still in the APC. And I know that by 2027, you will also be presenting somebody to Nigerians as an alternative. What trust do we have the currency of trust now? Because you presented somebody, and from what you are saying, you said he failed. Yes.
The president
So why should Nigeria trust anybody you be presenting to them going forward?
And then to add up to that, Professor, to add up to what my colleague in the studio asked you, I remember covering most of your events. You know, you were using gong to call Nigerians to gather around Buhari. You were a leader of amalgamated youth forums. Over 100 of them in Nigeria. You were the one doing that, and you constantly called for meeting, including journalists, to be carrying reports about your activities, only for you to feel this time around that it wasn't necessary for you to continue with him. So one begins to imagine who, at a point, most of you people are free.
I may correct free somebody. I always, if I tell you right from secondary school, I was a house captain. I also went to Lagos. I drafted about 7,000 workforce from Oshodi to Marina to fight for Nigerians. I was in PNT that time. After I left PNT, I came to ATM Mina. I fought for their welfare system. After I left NMPs, the MTA, I was employed in the refinery, in Kaduna refinery. I fought for their rights. I shot the refinery in 1998 when people were dying on queues. Normally in this country, the right things are not done. And for us, we thought we would be like Muhammadu Buhari, we brought him, he was honest, he was very sincere. But along the line, when he came back to be the president in 2015, he was hijacked from us. Even as I'm talking to you now, Tinubu has been hijacked from us. The right people are not in the government to make sure that we bring back the issue of health that you discussed. Why should we be going 6 hours or 7 hours to another country when the best doctors there are Nigerians, the best engineers, the best, that's why we have brain drain. So we are, I want to beg Nigerians also to please, they should exercise patience with us. It's not what we want for them that is happening. We hope this president will do the right thing to make sure that this economic hardship that Nigerians are facing today.
Yeah, Professor, time is not on our side. We would have loved you to continue on this discussion with us, but we are gradually drawing the curtains to the program. That's why we often ask for you people to be with us in the studio, not just joining us via Zoom. Of course, people are trying. In your own case, I remember you are just returning back from Qatar. So you were resting at the time. I was really pestering you with messages to ensure that you should be with us. But then we thank you so much. I believe you need to be here some other time because the federal government has declared tomorrow public holiday. Discussions are still ongoing, so I expect you to be around physically with us in the studio. We thank you so much for being part of this program, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. So we don't know if is Mike with us. Would like to hear his final thoughts on the program. Mike Udam.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So insightful conversation.
Yeah, sure.
And it continues. You know, that's like it's really.
I was just trying to correct Professor Kilani that this video that they saw Buhari, Buhari begging Nigeria to forgive him. That was the time when he was handing over in 2023, leaving government. It wasn't as if when he was sick in one of the hospitals there in UK, it wasn't that way. But they merely, cut and joined to make him real in the situation which we are today as a country, as if he begged for forgiveness. They did him while he was in that hospital.
Absolutely. That's the life, the times of the man, former late President Muhammadu Buhari. Life is actually relative. People will have what to say. But if you do the right things, history, like they say in literature, will speak for you.
Well, thank you so very much, my colleague Umo.
Thank you so much.
Yes, this is Big Talk on Global TV. We enjoyed you so much for being part of this program, particularly those who join us via Zoom, Professor Kilani, and as well Dr. Mike Uban from Cross River. We thank you so much with the insightful discussion with us on this program. My name is Topsy Gimba. We shall be doing that continuously some other time. Do have a very lovely evening. We're leaving the studio and bye-bye.
Thank you.